All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachak Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is basically various topics dated April 8th, 2024, the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. And today is the big day for the, solar eclipse, which is, according to what I heard, is supposed to be setting off at 3:33 p.m., which those that get into numbers, because you have a duality of numbers. We used to go into that a lot, but we stopped messing with it. But you still have, everything is double one against another, so 3 represents understanding. I was just watching a video from, I think it was Instagram, and pretty much people have been talking about it, that the first eclipse in 2017 made its path through, I believe it was 7 cities known as Salem, and then this path, it's 7 cities known as Nineveh. And those of you that have studied and have been studying, you know that Nineveh is a code name for America, and Nineveh was destroyed, totally and utterly, completely destroyed by the Lord back at that particular time. And that's another name for America today. But what I found interesting too, which I mentioned it before, I've heard it also, is the path, the intersecting path of both the 2017 and 2024 eclipses are going to go through southern Illinois. All right, as you see here, this is Illinois right here. And then this is southern Illinois down there. And southern Illinois is also known as Little Egypt, because during the 1800s, I believe it was, they were to get grain, they would have to go south. So they kind of labeled that area Little Egypt according to what the scriptures speak about when everyone was coming to Egypt during the time of the 7 years of famine. So that region is called Little Egypt. As you see here, the 2017 and 2024 totality path crossed in an area that spans parts of Missouri and Kentucky, as well as portions of the Little Egypt region in Illinois. All right. And the actual city, one of the main cities, or the city that it's really going to be crossing at, is a city called, this is Little Egypt right here, by the way, as you can see. And as you can see in the first map, this is Illinois, southern Illinois, and that's southern Illinois. This area here was called Little Egypt. But they were saying one city in particular that's in that path is a city called Makanda, not Wakanda, Makanda. All right. So Makanda, the path of the April 8, 2024 eclipse will cross the path of the prior total solar eclipse of August 21, 2017, with the intersection of the 2 paths being in southern Illinois and Makanda, just south of Carbondale. Now, I looked up the meaning of the name Makanda, and they're conflicting, meanings. One of them is mango tree, and they got other definitions. But one definition that I thought was pretty heavy, which, whether it means that or not, I have to do more research to find out. But one definition that came from Washington, D.C. is that Makanda means women of power. And I tend to go with that one. And the reason why, as I'm going to tell you, is because when Washington, D.C. was set up and established, it was set up by lots. And the lot where the capital and all that was lot 666. It's hard to find that information now, but it's out there. They set up that whole area in Washington, D.C., parallel to Egypt. And the reason why they built it on what was known as a marsh, because it mimicked the marshes in Egypt. And there was, as they laid things out, everything has to be laid out in a particular way, particular design. And they had to shift some stuff over because, it was, at that time, they were having a hard time building a foundation for certain buildings, so they had to kind of shift it over a little bit from what they really wanted to, to do. But nevertheless, the idea and the thought is there. The enchantments were there to set that up, their sorcery, to set it up like that. So I tend to roll with the Makanda, meaning women of power. And like I said, the only reason why I would lean more towards that is because knowing this devil and the way that they set things up in wickedness, that's pretty much, what they do. Just like when you look at the dollar bill is satanic within itself. You have a owl in the corner, on the backside, on the right-hand corner, in the little crevice there, you'll see if you have a magnifying glass, you can see an owl. Then you have webs all around the outer edges of the back of the dollar bill, which are to entrap you. In the middle of both sides, at the ends, of east and west, you have the little tail of a rattlesnake. So there's a lot of symbolism, and then you have the pyramid of Cheops or Cheops, with the missing capstone, which goes back to Egypt. So everything that these devils do is a reflection of that, because this is ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, or the modern day Egypt, modern day Rome, modern day Nineveh, modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, modern day Babylon the Great, or modern day Babylon. All right. So as we look into this, right, where is it? There goes Makanda, Illinois, down the south of Illinois. All right, and then this is one of the main cities that's going to intersect where the solar eclipse is going to intersect. I thought I actually clicked on this other one, but this is it right here. It says the meaning. This is the meaning of the name Makanda. It says the origin is African, meaning of Makanda. Class may find, then you have to go through all this BS to find it. And you could just type in names.org and then put in Makanda, and you have to just keep scrolling through here, and it's going to give you the definition eventually. See if I could find it. I had to go back up. It's somewhere in here. Just bear with me. Right here. User submitted meanings. A user from the United Kingdom says the name Makanda is of African origin and means strength. All right, which that's a part of it. Strength and power is the same thing. A submission from South Africa says the name Makanda means little ones and is of Chua origin. Then it says a submission from Washington, U.S. Oh, I'm sorry, Washington. I thought that was Washington, D.C. All right, it's Washington. Says the name Makanda means women of power and is of Indian Sanskrit origin. So reason why, like I said, I tend to lean more towards this one is because of these devils and what they do. And America is known as what? As that woman. Let's go real quick to the book of Revelation. And we're going to go to the main point, and then we're going to jump up. Revelation 17 and 18, it says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And then when you sit down and you what's the word I'm looking for? Ponder on the scripture, right? And you look at the earth, it's not talking about an actual city as the definition of a city is. Because how big is a city? Well, according to Esau's definition, it's something like New York City or LA or something like that. But really a city is as big as its citizens, because if you are born in America or naturalized in America, no matter where you go on the planet Earth, you're known as a U.S. citizen. So a city is as big as a citizen, and that's why it calls it a great city. And I believe the word for great there should be mega. Megas. And it's comparing this great city to a woman. So when the Apostle John saw the actual woman, which was a beautiful woman, that was very alluring, very seductive. It was a representation of a nation on the planet Earth. And through the seduction of Esau's, policies and their ways, they've pretty much sucked people in, to, especially the kings of the earth, to partake in this wickedness. All right. And also cause their citizens to partake in the wickedness, because if they don't partake in the wickedness, guess what? They get cut out of that, infrastructure. So we look up the word great, yep, megas, and city is polis, megapolis, like a megapolis, right? You have metropolis, which is a mother city, and megapolis, I believe it would be, megapolis would be a mega city. All right. So this particular city is known, or this great city is a representation of that woman which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And America has total power and influence over these nations, although at this point the nations are pulling away from America. Just bear with me 1 second. And the reason why they're pulling away is first and foremost prophecy. The scriptures say that the nations are going to go back to their countries, and because they notice that when they start messing around with the policies of America, their land and their people and their resource start to suffer, for it. All right, so when we jump to the first verse, it says, "And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." This great whore is America, and I'm explaining what it means by great whore. But the waters, these particular waters, when you come down to the 15th verse, it says, "And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." And America is known as the what? The great melting pot. That's where you have immigrants here from all over the planet. The only people that are not immigrants or foreign to this place are the ones that were born here back before the devil came over, before Esau came over here in the late 1400s into the 1500s, dealing with Gad, Reuben, and Issachar, which were labeled as Indians or savages, which they were not savages, they're Israelites, but those are the only citizens, original citizens of this land, called them North America. All right. Now, the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, the reason why it's called the great whore, because a whore is known for what? For laying down with many men. She has a certain way that she dresses, a certain scent that she wears, a certain alluring effect or seducing effect about herself. When these women go out there and sell their bodies, you have some individuals that'll pop anything, but then the ones that want to really make money, see those individuals that do that, they're desperate, and those women, they just want to get high or something like that. But then the higher class prostitutes, they would buy the finest stuff, the most seductive, outfits they could wear, the best smelling, fragrances, they'll be decked out, right? So for the purpose of, she wants to attract as many men as possible so that she can make the most money as possible. And that's pretty much what America has or has done through her policies, and through that alluring, golden city status. She has allured all of these different nations over into her land, or what she stole as a land. And that seduction is what brought these nations here, because they know that the only way they can partake in this whole system is to yield to the ways of America. And that's the only reason why a lot of these nations partake in that, so that they can, receive the goodies, so to speak, because you want to just get her stuff. Inside joke. Verse 5. We're just going to jump straight to the point. And upon the forehead, I'm sorry, not 5. That's a good one too. Matter of fact, yeah, let's do that. Verse 5. And upon the forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, because America is the greatest conglomeration of confusion. The name Babylon goes back to the name Babel, or Babel, which goes back to the Hebrew word Babel, which means confusion. And they calls it the Great because this is the biggest or the greatest conglomeration of confusion in the world. All right? They push every and anything here in this society. Then it says the mother of harlots because you can worship whatever you want to worship here. All right? Mother of harlots just means that. A mother of harlots, like a mistress. And the scriptures call America the mistress of witchcraft. So anything, this is why they have so-called freedom of religion. And this is what draws a lot of these nations here to forsake their ways to come and partake in American ways so that they can become rich. It says, and abominations of the earth. And abomination is, Moism, the alphabet people, transmission, lifestyle, and all of that other stuff. The bi, the tri, the, pansexual, every type. All right. And these are the three descriptions or the three phrases to describe America. And this is also a part of that numbering system of the 666. Because as you break each phrase here down in the Hebrew, when you add all the numbers up, everything adds up to 666. I had done a video years ago. Not sure how long ago. If you type it in here, Revelation 17:5, it should pop up. Well, at the time, back in the days, Apostle Tar's title was High Priest Tar. Today, he's known as an Elder Apostle. And he had mentioned years ago that somebody should do a breakdown on that. And I did, based off of the breakdown that High Priest Ariah did years ago. And this breaks down to 666. So, jumping back up here to verse 2, with whom, so this harlot that sits upon many waters, she is going to be judged. What is that destruction or judgment? The destruction by fire, thermonuclear destruction. So it says, with whom the kings of the earth, meaning the rulers, the top rulers of the planet, have committed fornication. And how did they commit fornication? By accepting America's ways through her democracy, through many different things. And not so much so as religion, because a lot of these nations still follow their religion. But it's more so the democracy and policies of America in order to partake in this system. It says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So how have the inhabitants of the earth been made drunk with the wine of her fornication? Through their leaders. Because in order for their leaders to receive the benefits of that money, they had to make the citizens partake in America's ways. And that's why eventually it says the nations became mad as hell. So when we go to Jeremiah 51:7, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Why? Because the Lord is the one that used her to push this filth on the planet to bring judgment upon it. All right? And he put the spirit on the leaders to partake in it to fulfill prophecy. That made all the earth drunken. See? And how did she make all the earth drunken? By pushing that bullshit wine and giving it to the leaders giving it to the people. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. They're bugged out and they're pissed off. At the same time. Because they were, as they were drinking the wine, it was good. They was, feeling good. You start sipping and you start feeling good. And after a while, you lose count and you ain't even thinking about it. And the next day you had that fucked up hangover. Well, that's what the nations are experiencing now, that fucked up hangover. So excuse my, Sanskrit, and pretty much they're pissed off at this place. There was another point that I was trying to make. They drunken of this wine, and therefore now they have this fucked up hangover, and they're wishing they never would have drunk that shit, hugging the toilet and all that. So pretty much that's how the nations are. This is why you have the BRICS nations and other nations joining the BRICS to set up a more of a substantial currency that would help benefit everyone involved and not rip them off. All right. So I just wanted to bring that point out. The path of the solar eclipse is going to pass through southern Illinois, known as Little Egypt. That's going to happen today at 3:33 p.m. We'll see what happens. Lord's will, something will go down, but maybe nothing will go down because there's too many people expecting something to go down. But then again, maybe it will. All right, which that will lead me into the next thing, because this is how they got the nations by putting them into debt. Because you have the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which lends money, astronomical amount of money to the nations, and they know they're going to default on that payment, and when they default on that payment, guess what? Now they're on the hook for that payment. So therefore, here goes, their resources. Here goes their people as servants. Here goes, their land eventually. And then the puppet leader is on the hook for that loan, for that money. So they become what? Indebted to slavery. Now we have here a quote from John Quincy Adams. There are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, the other is by debt. And that is true. And the international banking families who create all of these wars, they've come to that conclusion that it's easier to conquer a nation by allowing them to choose to do so. So many words. To volunteer to do so. All right? And they know that. And this is why Maya Angelou Bauer said, give me control of the nation's money and I care not who makes the laws. Because pretty much whoever makes the laws, controls policies, controls laws. Because here it is, you have these major corporations, right, that are about 6, maybe a few more, that own all these other smaller corporations, which you think that you go into one place, you're thinking you're buying from somebody else, but you're buying from the same people. And what they do is through these corrupt politicians, they pay them an exorbitant, or however you say that word, exorbitant amount of money to pretty much push the policies of that particular company so that they can benefit from it and eventually get rich off of that. This is why you have, this is why you have them benefit, these corporations benefiting, and the people are not benefiting because the corporations are pretty much buying into Congress and paying off these leaders to push the policies that will benefit these companies and not the people themselves. This is why people are complaining, oh man, we got all these homeless people here, and all this money that's going out to help this place and help that place, and nobody's helping anybody here in America because it's not what the system is. The system is not set up to do that. It's set up to do the total opposite, and that's why the Lord said that woe unto you rich men. All right. Matter of fact, let me pull that up on deck just to hold it on deck there. Get James chapter 5 and just leave that there. All right, so moving on. We have something called debt bondage or debt slavery. Debt bondage, also known as debt slavery, bonded labor, or peonage, is the pledge of a person's services as security, or what? Another word for security would be collateral. All right, for the repayment of the debt or other obligation. Let's see. And the scriptures also call it surety. So let's go to Proverbs 11 and 15, but let's go to the Proverbs 11:15 so we can look up that word. Proverbs 11 and 15. This word surety pretty much is like collateral. Proverbs 11:15. He that is surety for a stranger shall smart for it, right? Because you're going to hurt for it in the end. Why? Because you're going to end up becoming a slave. This is why the scriptures speak about a brother that falls into decay. Because, he loses assets. Sometimes you make an investment into something and it doesn't pan out. And you end up losing when you're thinking that this investment you made was going to make you so much money that you were going to be good. But it ended up backfiring. So now you're in a bad position. So now you have to become an indentured servant in order to pay off a debt that you can't pay off. And then once you, but the Lord is just. That's why He made provisions in the law that once you work for 6 years, the 7th year you will be let go free as a servant, and will have enough substance to start all over again or to start your own. So he that is surety for a stranger shall smart for it, and he that hateth suretyship is sure. So the word for surety is the word irab, which means mixed. But what else does it mean? To pledge, right? That's a pledge, which is what? Collateral. Exchange, mortgage, engage, occupy. Undertake for, give pledges. See, to be or become surety. Take on a pledge. So you become the collateral. So that's why it says here about debt bondage, is the pledge of a person's service as security. So their service means what? Themselves, their labor, whatever they can get out of them. And when you're in captivity or when you're in debt, the person is going to try to get as much out of you as possible. He's going to work that sucker to death. Inside joke. Service as security for the repayment for a debt or other obligation, where the terms of the repayment are not clearly reasonably stated. And this is what Esau's laws that he puts on the books, they're never, clear as to what they really, want. It's always like a whole lot of gray area so that they can pretty much interpret it as they go along. This is why he said, give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes the laws. And when they make the laws, like for instance, the Federal Reserve, and they set it up, there was a lot of vague areas. And those vague areas are left like that on purpose so that they can interpret it as they go along. This is why shit is constantly changing. You think you found a loophole, then when you find a loophole and you learn the rules, or you learn the game, they change the rules on your ass. Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, because unrighteous when you make a decree, and even in law, you have the United States Code, and even within the United States Code, no, is it the United States Code or the U.S., what is that called? It's contractual law. You have, when you have a contract, that contract is supposed to be straightforward. You have something known as an unconscionable contract, meaning a contract that you don't understand. When making a contract, the contract is supposed to be made so that both parties understand what they're signing. But what they do here, these devils, is they make it so vague to where if you're not a lawyer, you won't understand what you're signing. And this is what happens with a lot of jakes out there. This is how they sell their soul, because they sign something because they think that they're getting a benefit, because they thinking that, okay, I signed this, I'm gonna get this free money. No, there ain't no free money, and it's not money for your service. Well, it is for your services, but it's not money that you get away with scot-free because you got such great talent. No, that money you have to pay back. And that money they give you, also they take it out of the shit that they rent for you, and the studio time and publish all that shit. So woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, because they're not straightforward, and their right grievousness which they have prescribed. Why? Because they know that eventually these unrighteous laws will lead to someone being in debt. This is why you have the whole monetary system going digital today, so that they can put the whole world in captivity. Under what? Under debt. They're not worried about collecting the debt. They're not worried about collecting the national debt, because they know eventually that debt is going to have to be paid somehow, some way. And that debt is falling on the people of America and the people of the world. And this is how they plan on making slaves of the whole entire planet, through debt. And that's why they're changing the whole system to where you can't barter like you normally do now. You know, because if you have cash, cash is harder to track than online buying, credit card purchases, debit card purchases. So they want to make everything digital. Now you go to Whole Foods and other places, they have palm readers. You know, they have eye scans, they have, you know, retinal scans, or however the hell you say that, biometric scans. Why? Because they're conditioning the people to transition easily into this new system. Because they know eventually, once they get the system in place, then they know that it will be hard to maneuver in this new system unless you partake of it. And that partaking of it means you have to take the MOTB, which is a microchip. All right, in whatever form they bring it, whether it's in the hand, whether it's in the head. Now they got something where they you know, Elon Muskie, you know, he's putting it in the eye scan. You know, he's putting something in the eye where you can use your eyes. So these devils are very devious in what they're doing in this new system. And they know that by constantly printing money and giving money to people, that's going to continuously put them in debt, which is going to lead to debt slaves or bondage slavery, which we read here. It says, or where the debt is excessively large, the person who holds the debt has thus some control over the laborer, right? And that's why this other precept came to mind. This video, the one I wanted. Proverbs 22 and 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. See, so the one that borrows is a servant to the lender. And this is how these devils made their money, the Rothschilds and the other international banking families. They found a way to lend money and to add interest on top of that. And this is why they wanted to control the nation's money, or the nation's money, so that they can control the issuing of it, so that they can control what is considered to be money. And even when you go to the Constitution and the United States Code, the other one is a UCC, I believe it's called, Uniform Commercial Code. But when you go to the Constitution and the United States Code, it tells you how money is expressed, right? An expression of money, which is expressed in dollars. A dollar is not money; it's just an expression of money. It's like a weight. You know, you don't go to a place and say, "Give me a pound," because they're gonna, if unless they're bugged out, they're gonna say a pound of what? You see? And everything has a different price. So the amount that you pay depends on what you're getting, a pound of, you know, or a gallon of. Same thing with the dollar. Dollar is not money. It's an expression of money. It's a weight. All right? It's how they express the money. And in the Constitution, it says that only silver and gold coins are supposed to be minted for you know, so that you can pay your debts, so on and so forth. But in this society, they issued paper. And at one time was backed by silver and gold, but it's no longer backed by silver and gold. It's backed by the belief of the people. That's why it's called a credit. Credit means belief. Credo, creo in Spanish. Belief. All right? The people believe that it's money, therefore they use it as money, because when you get it, you go to the store, you can buy stuff with it, but they don't understand the concept of that money. Then they're complaining about not being able to, you know, to pay their bills and be able to put food on the table, you know, because they don't understand how the money system works. And it's not that the prices of stuff is going up. It's just that what you're using as money is being devalued by the day. Therefore, it takes more of those to pay for something that you paid maybe a year or two ago. You know, you might pay double now. That's the true definition of inflation. It's not the rising prices. The rising prices is the effect of the devaluing of a currency. You see? All right, so Let's go back. Let's see what else we can glean off of this. The services required to repay the debt may be undefined, and that's exactly what they are. They're undefined because they're open for interpretation. And that's, I'm glad the brother put that precept up. The second part of it, right here, it says Psalms 10 and 2. No, that would, oh no, I'm sorry. Well, that's good. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Yep. Let them be taken in the devices that they have. Imagine, right? Because that's exactly what's going to bring them down. The devices that they bring in is what? Their new world order, the constant, oppressing of the people. And the main oppression is through money. All right? But I wanted to get Isaiah 10 and 2, which that's what I thought he had put. But I get those two confused. Psalms, Isaiah 10 and 2, to turn aside the needy from judgment. And that's what these laws do. And to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And this is why America is known as that golden city. The golden city, yeah, it represents the glitz and the glamour, the lights and all that. But it also really, mainly what it really represents, because that's the allure, that's the seduction. But what it really represents is the exactress of gold. The place that when you bought into it, you became indebted. So now they want you to give them their money, because they're exacting that money from you. And when you can't pay that money, guess what? Now you have to go into captivity to be able to pay off that debt. All right? Isaiah 14 and 4, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how have the oppressors ceased? You can oppress somebody by beating their ass, or you could oppress somebody by putting them into debt. The golden city ceased. And when you look up this word golden city, it goes back to the Hebrew word madahaba, boisterous, raging behavior, boisterous behavior. Yeah, that's a loud woman. That's America, that loud harlot, It says golden city, exactness of gold. When you exact something, you're claiming it. Let's go to exact. Not approximate in any way precise. That's one definition. The next definition is demand and obtain something, especially a payment from someone. See? So that's pretty much what they're doing. So pretty much you're tributary. You become a servant, a slave through what? Through debt. That's why it says that the borrower is servant to the lender. All right? So where we at? So going back, the exactness of gold. So the golden city really represents, they're the alluring, city on a hill that's bringing people here for their dreams. But really, they're there to put the people in captivity and total oppression. Because once you buy into it, you're going to become indebted to her. All right? So let's see what else we got here. And the service's duration may be undefined, right? Because they can make you a servant for life. Because remember, these devils understand the concept of slavery. They understand the concept of branding. All right? They understand that once a person becomes branded, they are indebted. And in some cases, they're indebted for life. Exodus 21 and 6. Matter of fact, let me go to it. Right, Exodus 21 and 5. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl. And he shall serve him what? Forever. You look at this word awl. The word awl is an engraving tool. Just like the knee to the dough that is used to deliver the micro C-hip inside or subdermally into people. And the word awl looks like an ice pick when you look at it. The word there is maratazai. Ma is over from when it's not connected to the word. And ratazai means to bore. See, like to cut into. All boring instrument. See. Now, when we go to all, because the AUL is a older spelling of it, a pointed tool for making surfaces or piercing small holes. See, and you see it right there. This is it. It looks like an ice pick. It's used for cutting into. So that all that cut into the person's ear made them what? A servant forever, for life. And that's why they want to pierce people. And this is why you hear that devil, Yuval Harari, talking about tracking people subdermally. You know, putting this device into them. Whether it's in your hand, in your eye, in your forehead, because the eyes are part of your forehead. You know, wherever they put it in your body, the whole purpose is for the future of, you know, being able to navigate in this new system that they're putting in place. That you see every day, you know, something new going on in the news of dealing with this. Yep, that's right. The brother said the dream always turns into a nightmare over here. Yep, especially with Esau. The brother here put Ecclesiasticus 18:33, be not made a beggar by banqueting upon borrowing. Beautiful. That's a beautiful precept. And that's true, because when you borrow too much, you end up becoming poor. When you indulge too much in your carnal desires, you end up becoming poor, spending your inheritance. It says, when thou hast nothing in thy purse, for thou shalt lie in wait for thine own life and be talked on. Right? So, man, don't lend that motherfucker no money. He ain't gonna pay you back. That motherfucker so in debt, he'll never come out of that debt. Nah, you see him coming down the street, you walk on the other side or turn back around and go the other way. Whatever you do, don't lend that motherfucker no money. This is Ecclesiastes 5:8. If thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. Yeah, because everybody knows. These devils know what they're doing. They're not oblivious. It's not like they're ignorant to what they're doing. That's why the devil made that statement. Myra M. shall borrow. Give me control of the nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws. Let's see if there's anything else here. Thus allowing the person supposedly owed the debt to demand services indefinitely. Remember, there's no such thing as doing one thing for this devil. Once you sell your soul, it owns you. And you got to dance with the devil. And when you dance with the devil don't get tired. He's going to keep you dancing. All right? Debt bondage can be passed on from generation to generation. That's why they're putting this system in place. See? Because right now they don't have total control of everyone. And this is what they want. Total control. This is debt slavery, a state of indebtedness to landowners or merchants, employees that limit the autonomy. Autonomy means self-rule of producers and provides the owners of capital with cheap labor. And that's what they want. Who are the owners of capital? The one that own the money system. And they can get cheap labor in that way. Examples of debt slavery: indentured servitude, peonage, like a peon. I'm looking at, let's see, peonage from the involuntary servitude, right? Involuntary servitude because you are indebted. You don't want to go into slavery, but you have to because you have no way to pay your debts. Okay? It says, and other forms of forced labor exist around the world and throughout history, and America is no different. This is why in the scriptures speak about, let's go to Revelation 18. It gives you a list of all of the things, Revelation 18:11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore. And what is their merch or their merchandise? Well, we're going to read about their merchandise. Matter of fact, let's look up the word merchandise. The word there is gomos. Gomos. A lading or freight of a ship. This is the cargo ships. This is why these devils are constantly attacking, messing up the flow of goods into the country and messing up different harbors and bridges to slow things down so that they can put people into a bad position. It says cargo merchandise conveyed in a ship, any merchandise, all right? And what does that merchandise consist of? Well, as you read on, it tells you all of the merchandise, right? Then when you go to the 13th verse, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. Readily available here in Babylon the Great. And this is why you have a constant flow of these, especially Jake and other nations, selling their soul to get a contract from Esau, which mostly those are Jake's, because Jake are the one that have the talent, but there are also slaves here, whether they're sex slaves or whatever, cheap labor. It's all the same thing. All right. Let's see what else we got. But the boundaries between them can be difficult to define. It is instructive to consider one prevalent system of debt slavery as a means of identifying the characteristics typical of the condition. And you could type, this is in Britannica, you could type in debt slavery there. You could also type in debt slavery or debt bondage in Wikipedia if you want to read some more of this article here. It gives you the different places. I didn't put anything in the description box because it was kind of out there. Now you have the 13th Amendment. And these devils use this to put Jake in slavery through putting charges on him and sending him to prison so they can get that cheap labor, because they knew that this existed, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, right, shall exist in the U.S., or any place subject to their jurisdiction. They knew that. So if the only way they can get around it, it says, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. That's why they'll grab Jacob, put charges on him, so that they can become what? Slaves for cheap labor. They found a loophole in the writings. Therefore, they use that. There's a I think it's called The 13th. It's a documentary. I think it was on Netflix, The 13th or something along those lines, which went into that. How after slavery, they used this clause. Let me see. Yep, the 13th. They used that clause in order to put Jake in captivity. That's it right there. The 13th is on Netflix. If you haven't seen that, I suggest you go see it. It's very good, very good documentary, and it shows you that right after slavery, they knew that they couldn't force Jake into slavery. But the way they did it was they put charges on Jake, blamed them for stuff they didn't do to put him in slavery so they could put him on those chain gangs and still get that cheap labor. Because he's a criminal. 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. And this is the part of those unrighteous decrees. And that's why the Lord said that these devils can't rule, because what they're doing is wicked. The legislation that they're passing is wicked, and they have the power to do the right thing, but they're not going to do the right thing. Psalms 94:20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? Because they use the laws to frame mischief. And what is that mischief? To eventually get people into slavery, debt bondage. Because everything they do is all based off of a fee. This is a feudal system based off of fees. The word for law is quack. Statute, see? Ordinance, limit, something prescribed. So the statutes or the ordinances are what? These laws and the legislation that they pass in it. Unrighteous decrees. See? Something that they put into law to judge unrighteously. The ones that so-called break that law. What else we got here? All right, so that's that. And I was listening to the Bible earlier, and I wanted to read these two precepts here. And there was something else, but I may use that or save that for another lesson. This is Isaiah chapter 5, verse 18. And there's a reason. This is the reason why Jake doesn't fear the Lord, because nothing is happening to them on the scale that it should, for their wickedness. So they're doing wicked shit and not being judged for it. Therefore, they're compelled to continue to do wicked shit. That's what the Lord said, that when their calamities come, they're going to cry unto him, but the Lord ain't going to hear them because they ain't hearing right now what the Lord is saying. Isaiah 5:18. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity. What is iniquity? Compounded sin. Sin on top of sin on top of sin on top of sin. And the cords of vanity is they continue to string things along. It's like they're pulling a cartwheel or a wheelbarrow. They're pushing a wheelbarrow full of iniquity. Right? And not repenting from it, because the Lord is not going to leave one unpunished. So what do you think is if you continue to build on those iniquities in transgressions? It's going to get worse and worse. So when the punishment comes down, it's going to come down like a hammer. And that's why Jacob's trouble, which Lord's will it be this year, is going to be so detrimental, because you have Jakes out there that are not going to repent. It says, and sin as it were with a cart rope, right? You pulling the sin right along with you. You're not cutting that off. You're constantly just carrying it around with you. The scriptures speak about, if a brother knows that scriptures in the Apocrypha, there can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil. So if you're not repenting, that means that you got those things are still piled up on top of you. And when the Lord brings a judgment, it's going to be unbearable. So it says, they say, let him make speed. Let the Lord, y'all been talking about this shit for the longest. You can go to 2 Peter 3. This is also a good scripture to go with this. Oh, you're talking about that stuff for long. Man, ain't nothing going to happen, man. Ain't nothing happened since, that's going to be like in the future. When my children's children, are around. That ain't going to happen. Now ain't nothing happening because they can't see. It says, they said, let him make speed and hasten his work. Let him do what he got to do. Okay, throughout it, it's Ecclesiastes 12:3. There can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil, nor to him that giveth no alms. Right. So if you're constantly occupied in evil, that means what? You're not repenting. So it says here, they say, let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see it. See, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after sign. That we may see it. And let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw nigh and come, that we may know it. Yeah, but what happened last time Jake said that to the Lord? Nah, Moses, we don't want to talk to you, man. We want to talk to the man himself. We want to talk to the big man himself. And as soon as the big man he didn't even speak. He was just, it was just a preparation. And they heard all that commotion. So, oh shit, they got the hell out of Dodge and said, no, Moses, look, man, nah, we don't want to talk to the Lord. We want to talk to you. You talk to him, and we'll talk to you. So when the Lord starts speaking again, Jacob gonna be in that fucked up predicament. Right? That's a good one right here. Ecclesiastes 8:11, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. And that's why they don't repent. The other scripture I had was here in Ezekiel 12:21 on down. It says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, what is that proverb that ye have in the land of Israel, saying, the days are prolonged and every vision faileth. And that's how they look at it. Because ain't nothing really happened yet on that scale. When things happen like, the world trade coming down, then Jake will get him, together. It'll be in order for a little bit. Then all of a sudden, once a week or a month or 6 months or a year go by and nothing else is happening, they go right back to the bullshit they was doing. Look at New Orleans, New Orleans. They had the levees break. What was that, back in 2005? People was all fucked up, but now they back to that same wickedness. So what do you think the Lord gonna do? He gonna smoke their ass. And Lord's will, something does go down today. That'll be beautiful. Tell them, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, I will make this proverb to cease. So how is the Lord going to make the proverb to cease? By causing these things to happen, to shut their blood clot mouth. It says, and they shall no more use it as a proverb in Israel, but say unto them, the days are at hand, and the effect of every vision. Because they're going to be affected. They're going to be activated. The prophecies of the Lord are going to be activated. Effect is the word debar, which means to speak, to say. See? Speech. The Lord's business. He about to get busy on his business. It says, for there shall be no more any vain vision or flattering divination within the house of Israel. And that's another thing too. These so-called fake-ass pastors and preachers in the world and in the so-called truth. And I say it that way because these false prophets that know about the truth, they're not in the truth. They're faking the funk. All right? For I am Yahweh, I will speak, and the word that I shall speak shall come to pass. It shall be no more prolonged. For in your days, O rebellious house, remember what Yahushua said, that this generation shall not pass until all these things be fulfilled. He was talking about this time now. Part of it was back then, during 70 AD. Those people were still alive, and those people are back here again. And it's speaking about now, the time of the end, the new Rome, the new Babylon the Great. Will I say the word, O rebellious house? Will I say the word, and I will perform it, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Again, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, behold, they of the house of Israel say, the vision that he seeth is for many days to come, and he prophesies at the times that are far off. Right, and that's what Jake puts these things far off. They don't have a clue or an idea that hell is about to come down. I was watching the movie Margin Call the last week. And in that movie Margin Call, there was a situation happening in the stock market, in a particular company. And the dude was, they found out that shit was about to get bad. And they were driving down the street, and he was, look at all these people, man. They have no clue of what's coming. And it's true. These people have no clue of what's coming. And even though they're being told, they don't listen. But that's all right, because they're going to know it when the Lord starts to bring down their pain. Therefore say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, there shall none of my words be prolonged anymore. Because things are happening, and they're going to continue to happen. They're going to continue to increase. Because we're at the end, and guess what? It's speaking now. It's wide open. But the word which I have spoken shall be done, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And it's going to be done. And this is when Jake is going to want to get right, but it's going to be too late. They ain't going to be able to get right with God. Inside joke. But it's true. They ain't going to be, when they try to get right, it ain't going to work for them. Matter of fact, this is a good scripture to end it with. That brother right here put 2 Thessalonians 2:11, and for this cause the Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth. See, it says, but I think he's missing something here. Let me see. Let me just go to that. 2 Thessalonians 2. And 12, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. See, they had pleasure in unrighteousness. That's right. All right. So, pretty much this has just been a various topics. We spoke about, the eclipse that's happening today at 3:33 p.m. It's intersection of the 2017-2024. It's going to be in Little Egypt, which is southern Illinois, which is known as Little Egypt. It is also crossing something called Makanda, not Wakanda, Makanda, which the word Makanda, some say it means mango or mango tree. and others say that it means powerful women. And I will go with that better because America is known as that woman. And whenever you exalt women, this is what the destruction comes upon that nation. You know, and this is why when you go back to Esther, and the king Ahasuerus called Vashti, and she wouldn't come. Guess what? That left a bad stain for men back then. That's why all of the nobles came to the king and said, "Yo, king, what you gonna do about that? Because if you don't do something about that, you know, this is going, all of the women, all of our women are going to hear that, and they're going to start acting up, and we can't have that." See? So the Lord's going to take this place out. And then we spoke about, debt slavery. Quote by John Adams: "There are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, the other is by debt." And we went through debt slavery and all of that, 13th Amendment. And then we spoke about, the rebelliousness of Jake and how they put off the day of the Lord because they have no fear of the Lord, but eventually they're going to get caught up. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say shalom at the water for tuning in to today's edification. Shalom.